I'd like to call to order the City of Douglasville City Council regular meeting for tonight, which is Monday, May the 7th. Our invocation will be done by Pastor Gene Fields of Heritage Baptist Church, and after that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. It will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Richard Siegel. Please stand for the invocation. Thank you, Pastor, for coming.
Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. And Father, it's not a beautiful day because of the weather. It's a beautiful day because it's a day that you created. Father, a day that you have given us and that you have blessed. And so, Father, we thank you for that. Father, we thank you that we, in this day, have got to experience you. Father, you've protected us. You've watched over us. You've intervened on our behalf, Father, when we wouldn't even know it. And we just thank you for that. Father, I ask blessings on this meeting tonight. Father, I ask blessings on our mayor. Father, just give her wisdom and discernment, Father. Father, I ask blessings on the city council and do the same for them. Father, I ask blessings on their families as they have given of their time, Father, to serve our community, Father. And so we just ask extra blessings, Father, over their families. Father, I'm thankful that we do live in a community where we have the freedom, Father, to walk around, Father, to worship, to listen, Father, to have good leadership. And Father, we do have good leadership in this community, and I'm thankful for that. Father, we just love you. We thank you for loving us. And Father, the greatest example of love is your Son, Jesus. And Father, he is the Prince of Peace. And so I ask for peace and his wisdom in this room tonight. Again, Father, we love you. In your holy name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Pastor Fields. We appreciate the prayer and the blessings, especially for our families. Now I'll go through the announcements and presentations, and then after that I'll give the directives and protocol for the meeting. So the first announcement is a proclamation recognizing Public Service Recognition Week, and it reads, Public Service Recognition Week, whereas Americans are served every single day by public servants at the federal, state, county, and city levels. They're unsung heroes do the work that keeps our nation working, whereas public employees take not only jobs but oaths. Whereas many public servants, including military personnel, police officers, firefighters, healthcare professionals, and others, risk their lives each day in service of the people of the United States and around the world. Whereas public servants include teachers, police officers, planners, administrative professionals, safety inspectors, laborers, and countless other occupations. Day in and day out, they provide the diverse services demanded by the citizens of Douglasville with efficiency and integrity. And without these public servants at every level, continuity would be impossible in a democracy that regularly changes its leaders and elected officials. Now, therefore, I, Rochelle Robinson, Mayor of the City of Douglasville, and on behalf of the Douglasville City Council and the citizens of the city, do hereby proclaim May 6th through 12th, 2018, as Public Service Recognition Week in the City of Douglasville. Who's going to accept for me, City Manager? Okay. Let's give the Public Service Recognition Week a hand for the people after our City Manager speaks to us, and then we'll come around and take a picture.
Mayor, I think I speak on behalf of all of the City of Douglasville employees that thank you for recognizing Public Service Week. It is a joy, it is a pleasure to not only work for you all as elected officials, but to work for all the citizens of Douglasville. So thank you for recognizing, and it is definitely a humbling place to be, but one of the best places to be able to serve. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just give her a hand. Take a picture, Council.
All right.
Big smiles, everybody. Perfect. Thank you.
This next presentation is a surprise, and it's exciting. A presentation by Representative Kimberly Alexander, my representative, and my state senator, Senator Donzella James, honoring the first African-American elected officials in the city of Douglasville for the February 2018 Black History Month. Honorees to include myself, Mayor Rochelle Robinson, Police Chief Gary Sparks, with the House resolution, and Marcia Hampton, the city manager, with the commemoration. And a special presentation for our Councilwoman, Dr. LaShawn Bird-Danley, for her work in the community. We have a representative. Welcome, Representative Alexander. Thank you so much. This is exciting. I didn't know this was coming. It's a surprise. There's Senator James. You're right on time. Yes, ma'am. And if you don't mind, if you please can give us your name and address for the record. Of course, we know you, but we just want to have that in the records.
Kimberly Alexander, 1023 Abercorn Way, Douglasville, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am. And Senator Donzella James, welcome. Thank you so much for coming this evening. We know you're always on the run, so we appreciate your time, taking time out to come in.
Thank you very much. I'm Donzella James, 3800 Pittman Road, 30349.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor and the city council members. So myself and the senator started doing this back in Black History Month at the Capitol. Of course, we're so busy, so we've been holding on to these and ready to get rid of them. So we have them, and the first one is for, and this was signed by the delegation. This one is for Ms. Mayor.
Hey.
And it reads, honoring Mayor Rochelle Robinson for her outstanding public service and for other purposes. In 2015, Mayor Rochelle Robinson became the first African-American woman to be elected as mayor of Douglasville. Mayor Robinson has demonstrated excellence in the administration and governance of the city of Douglasville, and her administration has served as a perfect representation of her motto, service above self. And she has moved the city of Douglasville forward economically while elevating her goal of having the government work for the people. Whereas she has long recognized by the citizens of this state for the vital role that she has played in leadership and for deep personal commitment to the welfare of the citizens of Douglasville. Mayor Robinson has diligently and conscientiously devoted innumerable hours of her time, talents, and energy toward the betterment of her community and state, as evidenced dramatically by her superlative service as a member of various, lots of words, community and corporate boards in the Douglasville City Council. Her significant organizational and leadership talents, her remarkable patience and diplomacy, her keen sense of vision, and her sensitivity to the needs of the citizens of her city and the state of Georgia have earned Mayor Robinson the respect and admiration of her colleagues and associates. She is a person of magnanimous strengths with an impeccable reputation for integrity, intelligence, fairness, grace, and kindness. Mayor Robinson has served the state of Georgia with honor and distinction, and her vision and unyielding commitment to excellence have set the standard for public service. She bravely served in our nation's military for many years, as well as in the CIA, and she is the spouse of Pastor Jefferson Robinson and the mother of 3 amazing children, Joel, Anna, and Olivia. It is abundantly fitting and proper that the outstanding accomplishments of this remarkable and distinguished Georgian be appropriately recognized. Be it resolved by the House of Representatives that the member of this body honor Mayor Rochelle Robinson for her efficient, effective, unselfish, and dedicated public service to the state of Georgia.
Thank you so much. I'm overwhelmed.
And Madam Mayor, after we had talked, I talked with Representative Alexander, and we looked at everything that was going on. We thought that you deserve even the highest honor that the state of Georgia can give. And so we wanted to make sure you didn't only get a resolution, but it is my honor and privilege to present to you the award that comes from the Secretary of State's office, and we had to put it in, go before a committee, it had to go through the whole process, and you overwhelmingly were recommended for this honor. And it states, the state of Georgia, Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, Secretary of State of the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim Mayor Rochelle Robinson as an outstanding Georgia citizen. And may this outstanding citizen be afforded every courtesy as a goodwill ambassador from Georgia in her travels to other states, to nations beyond the borders of the United States of America, or wherever she may hereafter travel or reside. We want to thank you for your service to our state. It's in testimony thereof, and he has hereunto set his hand and affixed the seal of this office at the state capitol in the city of Atlanta. And this was done on the 16th day of April, 2018. So it's my honor and privilege to award to you the Outstanding Georgia Citizens Award, because, Mayor, you are outstanding.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're not finished yet. Okay.
So we have another one for Chief Gary Sparks, and I know he's not here, but we will keep that up here and provide that to.
Want to read his? Want me to remind him?
No, because we got two more to go, so we don't want to hold it up.
But he deserves it.
Well, we have two for him, and so both of these are House resolutions, and one comes from the House and one comes from the Senate. So we're probably, you want to read yours since it may be some of the same stuff in there.
Thank you. And is it someone here that could receive this for Chief Sparks?
Police Department. Captain Denny.
Can you come forward? An official, there are two official resolutions. The Senate one came from last year when he was first made chief. And it reads, commending and congratulating Police Chief Gary Sparks and for other purposes. Whereas Police Chief Gary Sparks has served with honor and distinction with the Douglasville Police Department since 1987, and whereas he began his career in law enforcement as a military police officer in the United States Army, after becoming the first African American from Douglasville, Georgia, to become a commissioned officer, and whereas now the first African American police chief of Douglasville, he dedicates innumerable hours of his time, talents, and energy toward the betterment of his community and state, as evidenced dramatically by his service and accomplishments. And whereas Police Chief Sparks is an honest and dedicated public servant who arrives for excellence in all of his endeavors, and whose primary concern is the welfare and safety of the citizens of Douglasville, Georgia. And whereas he is highly regarded by the citizens of his community and by the state of Georgia and local government officials as a man of unquestionable integrity and dedication to the administration of justice and sound principles of the law enforcement. And whereas the spirited law enforcement professional has exhibited extraordinary devotion to duty, outstanding loyalty, fine leadership, and meticulous attention to details in all of his duties. And whereas his inspiring commitment to the welfare of others is an outstanding example of the positive effect that law enforcement professionals have on the lives and well-being of the community. And whereas it is abundantly fitting and proper that gratitude is expressed for the unique and often unheralded contributions of local law enforcement professionals on behalf of the citizens of this state, now therefore be it resolved by the State Senate of Georgia that the members of this body commend the care, courage, sympathy, and selfless dedication exhibited by Police Chief Gary Sparks in the carrying out of difficult duties of his vocation. We congratulate him on becoming the police chief of Douglasville and express their utmost appreciation for having so purely and truly defined for others the meaning of public service. It's further resolved that this is committed to from the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Casey Cagle, and all of the others who have signed it, including myself. And so it's my honor and privilege to present this from the State Senate, and it's one that is very similar from...
Similar in the verbiage. Mine might be a little longer than yours.
Okay. Well, he's done a whole lot of things. I tried not to even read all of it. Believe it or not, I skipped that's 2 or 3 paragraphs. But also he receives the Outstanding Georgia Citizen Award as well. So take care. Y'all want to take a picture?
Thank you so very
You'll
much.
stay?
Thank you for the picture.
Yeah. Take a picture. Here. Yeah. Oh. All right, I'll try. Oh, no. Thank you.
Almost finished. We have one more special award and then another commendation from the governor. So I will do the special award first for the city council member. Every year at the Capitol, myself and Senator James, we're part of the Women Legislative Caucus, and that consists of all of the women in the House and the Senate. So every year on March, we are charged with finding a lady, a woman, in our community in District 66, or the district that we live in, and someone who has done public service. So I've awarded, all of the women that I've awarded have been from Douglasville. This year, I selected someone from out of my district in Paulding County, still a part of District 66, but she has a business here in Douglasville, but she actually lives in Paulding County. So they also allow us, because we pay for this ourselves, so they allow us if we want to have another person. So I always try to select another woman, so I actually do 2. We have one that comes down to the Capitol, and then I do another one for a woman here in the community. This year I selected Dr. LaShawn Burr-Danley. And my reasons for selecting her is because We both have in District 66, what I serve, LaShawn district feeds over into my district also. So I know all the hard work that she does because she calls me and says, this is going on in the community when I don't know what's going on in the community. I really appreciate that, or that's been so busy. She lets me know what is going on. She is genuinely concerned about the community. She is a true public servant. Everyone knows that she's always at all the events here in Douglas County, Wednesday Wine Down, Juneteenth. I don't care what it is, she's always there because she's genuinely concerned about the citizens and the constituents that she serves. So she is the reason why I selected this for her. I know all the hard work that she does. It is a beautiful award.
Pretty. How many comments down?
Almost finished. So this is the last one, and I started doing this one back in February and March. This one is a commendation from the governor, and it's from Marsha Hampton. It says, Marsha Hampton is a proud Georgia citizen who has established herself as a leader and dedicated public servant for the city of Douglasville. Ms. Hampton is the Douglasville City Manager, a role she has held since December 2015. She began her career in public service in 2003 as the main city manager and was later promoted to community and downtown service manager, as well as the assistant city manager. Prior to her tenure with the city of Douglasville, Ms. Hampton served in the United States Navy and worked at Coca-Cola Enterprises. In 2010, Ms. Hampton was named the City Employee of the Year and one of the top 10 Young Professionals of the Year in Douglas County by the Douglas County Chamber. Ms. Hampton sits on the Board of Directors for the Georgia City County Management Association, as well as the board for the Douglas County Chamber Foundation. She is a past president and a former member of the Georgia Downtown Association. Ms. Hampton is a graduate of Leadership Georgia and a Leadership Douglas. She earned degrees from Florida A&M University and Mercer University, as well as a master's degree in business administration from Georgia College. Ms. Hampton is also an International City County Management Association credentialed manager. Ooh. Through her unwavering commitment in her role as city manager, Ms. Hampton's influence will be felt in Georgia and Douglasville for years to come. She has served Douglasville with distinction, earning the respect and admiration of those who reside in her community. And this one is signed by Governor Deal. Sorry to take out so much time, but it's, for me, I just believe in giving the flowers while people are here, and I really appreciate these great women. So we're honored to do this. We started talking about it, like I said, in February, and we were like, we gotta do something for these women.
Wow.
And please know to the male counterparts, you're outstanding. We didn't forget you, but this was the year of the woman. And February was Black History, and that's what we did. And then March was the month for women. But don't be surprised if we don't come back honoring you, because we believe in what is written in what I call my Bible, my good book. And that's the Bible, and it says to give honor to whom honor is due. So all of you are so honorable. You've done a great job. Continue to do the good work. It's such an honor and privilege to work for you and to serve the people of Douglasville with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ooh-wee, we can't do speeches. We'll be here all night. Well, thank you so much, Representative Alexander and Senator James. We appreciate everything that you do for us as well. And I'm so really elated for my counterpart and colleague, Dr. LaShawn Danley, and our superb city manager, whom I am proud to say when I was on city council, we hired her on, so it was a good investment, a good choice back in 2003. With Councilmember Beth Johnson, we brought Ms. Hampton on as the Main Street manager, and now she's elevated all the way to city manager, so we're very proud of you. Okay, we will move on now and go to the agenda, item number 5. Oh, I apologize. I can feel that my Mayor Pro Tem staring at me. The protocol for the meeting. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville's regular City Council meeting tonight. The council will vote on the agenda items that were discussed at the last legislative work session on this past Thursday. Items that will be voted on tonight have been discussed, and unless you have new information to present, you do not need to reintroduce the same material that you presented at the work session. If the business you are here to discuss is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time to discuss your business under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates. Before we start, I'd like to just go over a few protocol issues so that we'll be on the same page and we won't have any misunderstanding about the meeting. I ask that you would keep your comments and your presentation on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this city council to make their decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered to be personal attacks against any individual or group. Only one person speaking at a time. I ask that you would not applaud, cheer, make loud or disturbing comments, or otherwise distract from the meeting. If you have a cell phone or any electronic devices, please put those in silent mode or turn those off so they will not be disruptive during the meeting. Regular agenda items will be handled as the following. The city council chairperson will read the agenda item, make his or her motion before the vote. If the applicant has additional information, he or she shall present it at that time. Then if there are citizen comments on points of interest, they will be made at that were not made at the work session, you can make them at that time. But it's up to the chairperson to decide to let you come and speak or not. When you come to the podium, please give your name and address, tell us if you're for or against the item, and then make your statement. As you know, the council has adopted a new policy with respect to time. The applicant or the person representing each agenda item speaks first, and then those who support or in favor of the item address the council next. The combined time allotted for the applicant and those who support the item is 30 minutes, each person having 5 minutes to speak. Then those who oppose the item will have a combined total of 30 minutes as well. And of course, as I've just said, each person has a maximum time of 5 minutes to speak. Each person, including the applicant, gets only one opportunity to comment or make a statement on each agenda item. We ask that you address the comments and statements to the council, not to the audience, not to the staff, or not to the applicant. So talk to the city council, please, when you're making your comments. I want to emphasize that tonight we will only accept brief comments or clarifying statements concerning information that has not been introduced previously. And this is a public meeting, it's not a debate format. We won't go back and forth, and our policy requires that printed information used for review to be submitted to in advance to our city clerk for the council workbook. And having said all of that, now we will go back to the agenda. Now we are at number 5, which is minutes approvals. I open the floor for minutes of the legislative work session, April 12, 2018, and the regular minutes of April 16, 2018. I open the floor for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and second to approve the minutes as presented. Are there any corrections or additions or anything to the minutes from council members? Having not seen any, all of those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. I open the floor now to accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Are there any questions or comments or delineations from the consent agenda that's presented to the council? Thank you. All of those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it for approving the consent agenda. Now we'll move on to committee reports. Oh, I apologize. You do your motions in seconds, so we get them. You get them in, Ms. Vicki? Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to Public Safety Committee, and that's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Madam Mayor, no items at this time. Thank you.
You sure you don't have anything?
No, we put them on the agenda.
Okay,
Consent
that's
agenda.
good.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. We'll move on to item 8, Community and Economic Development Committee, that's chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Richard Siegel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have one item. It's item 21-18-20. Authorize the mayor to sign a 2-year service agreement with the Black Education Historical Exhibit, Incorporated, to facilitate the city's 2018 and 2019 Juneteenth festivals. I put forth item 21-18-20 in the form of a motion for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Item 21-18-20 is been properly moved and second to approve. Are there any additions or comments as it relates to this agenda item?
Madam Mayor, just a point of order. I'm not getting any of the pop-up screen votes or seconds or anything.
You need to
Thought I had
refresh,
joined
Mr.
in,
Nathan. I'll trade you my tablet until. Are you getting his votes
I got it
recorded,
now.
Madam City Clerk?
He's got it now.
Technology is wonderful when it works. I know it. Are you okay now, Councilman Miller?
I'm okay now. Madam
Very
Mayor.
good.
Thank you.
We don't want to leave you behind. Councilman Davis, I was going to ask if, I know you're a part of BHE, if you would just give us a brief synopsis. I know we lost one of our members this year, and so we're going to have a special presentation at that time. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you're so well-versed, you can speak to it. So if you could just talk
I don't
about it.
mind, Madam Mayor. It will be June 15th at the Conference Center, and it's the scholarship run in honor of Melvin Johnson and the late Frankie Morris.
Yes, sir. And Melvin Johnson was whom? I know Senator Donzella James had a lot to do with
Yes.
naming a highway.
Naming of the bridge, and
He was the first African-American to die in Vietnam from Douglas County.
yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. We look forward to that. Any additional comments as relates to this item? It's been properly moved and second to approve item 21-18-20. All of those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand. Did we get everyone? Do you push the button? Okay. Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Item 21-18-20 is approved.
No other items, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have several items tonight under Planning and Development Committee. First item, item A, 22-18-40, appoint an individual to post 4 position on the City of Douglasville Zoning Board for a 5-year term extending through June 1st, 2023. After discussion in committee this afternoon, we have decided that we will take no action on this item at this time. We do have another round of interviews that are coming up on May 18th, and then we would come back and vote for that individual post on May 21st.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we won't take any action. We'll move on to the next item.
Item B, item 22-18-41, consider a request for revised plat approval for Gateway Village subdivision, Unit 1, for the purpose of changing street names for 39.83 acres at Highway 92 and Maroney Mill Road in land lot 551, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 46, application by Butch Oliver, D.R. Horton Incorporated. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Good.
Madam Mayor,
Good
Council.
evening. Good to see you.
My name is Kevin Spindell, 260 Drummond Court, Atlanta, Georgia. Mr. Oliver couldn't be with us tonight, so I'm representing D.R. Horton. We just have a simple name change on to the street names for this subdivision.
Okay. Any other purpose of the application other than name change of streets?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there any question that any of the council would have of the gentleman representing D.R. Horton here? I would like to ask staff, have those names been approved through the 911 as far as the change of names so that we don't have any duplication or any problem with that? Okay. All right. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support or in opposition to this item before we vote? Okay. Seeing none, I will make a motion that we approve item 22-18-41.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve item 22-18-41. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and second to approve this item. Any additional questions, comments as relates to the item? Thank you. All those in favor of approving item 22-18-41, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 22-18-41 is approved for your plat.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Appreciate you coming in. Next item, 22-18-42, consider a request for approval of a development plan for Vic's Tire Shop received April 4th, 2018, located land lot 52, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 18, application by Mr. Larry Tony. Is Mr. Tony or someone here to represent this application? I don't see anyone. I know that we had discussion about this on Thursday evening. Were there any additional questions that council may have concerning it? Is there anyone here that would like to make a comment for or against this application of this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion that we approve item 22-18-42.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 22-18-42. Any additional comments as relates to this item? Any further action? It is noted that Councilmember Miller T. has recused himself as he's the architect on this application.
I apologize, Madam Mayor, for not
Okay.
making that clear to our viewing audience.
Okay, all of those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Item 22-18-42 is approved.
Madam Mayor, one other item, item 22-18-43. Consider a request for approval of a development. I'm sorry, let Mr. Miller come back in. I apologize. He seems to be dragging a little bit tonight.
Welcome back. Okay.
Okay, item 22-18-43, consider a request for approval of a development plan for a portable rock crushing plant received April 18, 2018, located land lot 189, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 21. Application by Mr. Bart Boyd. Is there anyone here, Mr. Boyd, or anyone that would like to speak concerning this application for a development plan? Please remember our mayor's points. If there's something new you'd like to add, then by all means we would like to hear from you. If not, if it's just something you want to repeat, then in the essence of time we would like to not allow that, please. How are you, sir?
As I understand it, we're not here to repeat our public hearing from last week, but I think we were concerned about the opposition's position on certain issues.
Pardon me, Mr. Dillard, would you, for the viewing audience, would you give your name and address for the record, please?
I'm Doug Dillard with Persley, Freeze and Torgerson, and I represent the applicant, Mr. Bart Boyd. Sorry about that.
No problem, thank you.
And we just want to be sure that our letter, which you received today, is spread on the minutes, and as a result, the issues that we feel were raised by the opposition we think have been adequately covered. You know, and just in summary, and whatever time I don't use, I'd like to share for rebuttal because we're not sure what other issues might be raised tonight.
As long as it's new information, yes, sir, that's fine.
But this is a use, in accordance with the outline of my letter, this is a use that's permitted by right, it's permitted by your zoning ordinance and your development code. We satisfy the development code requirements for preliminary approval. The conservation easement, I think, that was raised, does not prevent the use. That's a private easement. It can be revoked at any time by those who gave it. We don't have a limitation on access. We own all the property, the light industrial and the heavy industrial. So the access that we've got from a public right-of-way that dead ends into our property is through our property. So the issue about whether or not you can go through another zoning classification to serve a classification that's of higher density, we don't think applies here. We think that's a shaky position in any event, but in this event, it certainly doesn't do it. And I just want to remind you that, we come here to work with the city in a cooperative way, and the cases have indicated that when you're looking at zoning ordinances and development codes and that kind of thing, they're in strict derogation of the common law, which gives us the right to use our property. So the Flynn versus DeKalb County versus Flynn said, it's not the duty of the property owner to come forward to a local government and try to anticipate every conceivable objection that the local government might have, but that the parties should work together to try to achieve the highest and best use of the property for the property owner, because the constitutional freedoms, as I said the other night, the constitutional freedoms our forefathers died for gives us the right to use our property. That can be interfered with only through a proper exercise of your police power, which we recognize. But it's got to be of utmost importance to serve the public, to serve the protection of the public health, safety, welfare. Otherwise, we've got the right to use it. So you've adopted a code. In adopting that code, you exhausted your discretion. So the issue tonight is whether or not we comply with the strict terms and interpretation of your development code. Basically, we've had support of your staff that said we did. We've had an engineer that said we did. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight. But when we comply with that, your discretion was exhausted at the time that you adopted this code. And as such, these terms got to be given their reasonable, ordinary interpretation. That's Fayette versus Seagraves, and we think that we satisfy that. Your staff has so indicated to us. Nobody has indicated from the city that we did not satisfy the terms of the development code, and we submit that the objections of the neighbors are not within the development code requirements relative to adopting this concept plan. All of the issues that were raised the other night are issues that can be dealt with as a part of the permitting process for land disturbance and building permit. And one of the things you've got to, I think I would like to point out to you, is that the distance requirements that are set forth in section 40301 are minimum setbacks for principal buildings. Okay? And you look at our site plan, we're setting 15 feet off of a railroad right-of-way that's 200 feet long. We're setting 100 feet off of the residential around us. And we're setting 15 feet off of the other light industrial that's on the other side of this 10-acre site. So we satisfy the terms and conditions of 4.0301. And with that, we've certainly got Mr. Boyd here to answer any questions you might have. We've got Mr. Charles DePriest, who's also here to answer any questions, and I'd like to reserve any time I have left for rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who else would like to speak concerning this with new information concerning this application? Anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Is there anyone here then that would like to speak in opposition with new information? Please come forward and identify yourself, give your name and address for the record.
My name is Mike Kirkland. I live at 1111 Doris Road, Douglasville, Georgia. I'd like to cede my time to Curtis Shipley for that time.
That'll be fine. Ms. Acker, before Mr. Shipley begins, did we record now the time that Mr. Boyd and Mr. Dillard have remaining? Just want to make sure. Go ahead, Mr. Shipley. How are you, sir?
Good. Madam Mayor, Mr. Chairman, council members, I brought my water with me this time. Hopefully we won't have to have any detours. I wanted to point out.
Address for the record.
Curtis Shipley, 1122 Doris Road, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. Thank you. Sorry about that. I wanted to point out that, of course, we've already been over this code 3295 pretty extensively last time, so I'm not going to bore you with those details again. Hopefully, do y'all have the packet that I dropped off today with you, with the exhibits and so forth? Okay, so here's the fatal flaw that I believe I see, is that the whole process has to stop if the Code 32, which is the code you adopted, does not allow a mining operation. It's dead in the water. And I'd like to show you, I've done some additional research, and I'd like to show you where it puts mining and quarrying in the SIC codes. They're very clear. They're not ambiguous. If y'all would take a look at Exhibit D, see if you see Exhibit D.
That B or D?
D is in dog.
Thank you.
And it should be about 3 pages there. And what I'd like to address you to, if you turn to page 2, I have underlined basically why they put this further section in here. It says, there are numerous borderline cases between manufacturing and other divisions of the classification system. Specific instances will be found in the descriptions of the individual industries. And then it goes forward to name those industries, starting with milk bottling and all that stuff. But if you'll turn to the next page, page 3, you see it goes from fabricating to agriculture, and then it comes to mining. And under mining, the first sentence there really doesn't concern us, the dressing and beneficiation of ores, the breaking and washing of coal. Obviously, those are not what we're concerned about. But the next statement, the crushing and breaking of stone, and the crushing, grinding, or otherwise preparing of sand, gravel, and non-metallic chemical and fertilizer minerals other than barite are classified in mining. No ambiguity there. Now, if you remember from the other night, 3295, it does specifically state any of those other non-metallic minerals that are not accepted. You know, we had 5 exceptions there. Any of those not accepted is classed as mining, whether or not a mine is present. So clearly, and that's not the only place. Now, this is just one place we found it. There's numerous examples in the mining section, subsection 14, where it talks about crushing rock, crushing granite, different things. They're all classified as mining all the time. Now, let me give you this point. Here's where I believe, now this is just an opinion of mine, here's where I think subsection 32 got the attention of the applicant. The title for it lists the word stone, major group 32, stone, clay, glass, and concrete products. Obviously, it mentions stone. But now let's look and see what they're talking about under stone. If we look down, let's see. And I'm not sure, is that in your, I've got 32 here. Do y'all have a major group 32? Let me see if I've got that. Exhibit C, as in Charlie, 3295.
We do have it.
And it again goes forth with saying that the beneficiation and preparation of other minerals, metallic ores, clearly are a mining operation. And then it lists the ones that are not considered a mining operation. And of course, rock and so forth is not there. But getting back to, I got off chasing a rabbit there. Stone is what I wanted to get you to. The word stone is defined under 3281. And what they're talking about specifically there is cut stone, shaped stone, those engaged in cutting and finishing stone and stone products are classified in 3281. They also identify it in Exhibit B as the dressing of stone or slabs is classified in manufacturing industry 3281. So again, that's my opinion of how we got to stone is allowed is because of that word stone. But obviously, in this particular, in this particular context, they're not talking about crushed stone. They're talking about shaped stone or cut stone. The only context that you will find in the SIC codes about grinding or crushing of rock, separate now from an ore where we're trying to separate tin from tin stone or gold or whatever. Obviously, that's a crushing operation is required. But the difference is when we're doing that, the beneficiation process, we end up with a desired mineral over here. We've got tin, we've got gold, whatever it is we're after, and then we have tailings or scrap over here. Not so with gravel. You crush big rocks, you make small rocks out of them, you use every bit of it. There's no waste there. Now you grade it and screen it and sell it in different grades. But that's the difference in the process. So I believe, and listen, I've conferred, I know I'm just a citizen, okay? But I have conferred with Frank Jenkins, who is pretty knowledgeable. He agrees, absolutely, 32. In fact, did y'all get the letter? Did y'all get the letter that he wrote? Okay. He agrees that subsection 32, the ordinance that you have, that you're listed, does not allow for the grinding and crushing of rock. It allows for manufacturing, not for grinding and crushing. And so I would advise you to either deny it based on it doesn't fit, or if you're not sure that I'm absolutely not correct, table it, take the time to study it yourself and figure out what it says. You need a definitive answer on whether crushing of rock is allowed under SIG Code 32 before you can possibly go forward. Madam Mayor, Mr. Chairman, and council members, I again want to thank you all for y'all's time, courtesy. We appreciate so much you taking the time to listen to our opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shipley. Anyone else that would come forward and speak with new information concerning this application in opposition of this item?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Chairman and council members. My name is Teresa Knowles. I live at 1799 South Flat Rock Road, Douglasville, 30134, and I would like to yield my time to Ms. Beth Johnson.
Thank you. That'll be just fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Chairman, for letting us speak. Since you do have the letter from our attorney, I'll just refer. Oh, Beth Johnson,
Name
I'm
and
sorry.
address for the record.
8940 Rose Avenue, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. Sorry about that. Since you do have the letter from our attorney, I'll just speak of the parts that I need to reiterate for new information. The one point I wanted to make to begin with, under your development plan approval requirements, 9.03.01, it says every development plan shall show the following. It's not discretionary, so if you have a development plan in front of you, everything has to be on there that you are approving, all the required elements, the driveways, the buffers, the parking spaces. It's not discretionary. And I'll read this section from our attorney, Frank Jenkins. The tract proposed for development under the application only applies to the property identified as parcel number 189, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 21. If you'll look on your application, that is the only parcel on the application. It does not list a land lot 190, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 9, which is the 45-acre tract zoned light industrial. It's not on their application, and it's not on the plan. The acreage on the plan is 152.06 acres. That's the heavy industrial tract only. It does not list the 45-acre tract where they have the access drive going through the property. And no heavy industrial uses can be used on the access drive for heavy industrial purposes if it's in the light industrial district. But even more importantly, it is not even part of the plan before you. Now, they can resubmit the plan, but they have to put all of the parcels on the plan that you are to consider for this application. And on the actual development plan, it cites SIC Code 32 uses. If you see it at the table at the bottom under General Notes, SIC Code 32 is not allowed at all in the light industrial district. It's only allowed in the heavy industrial district. So they certainly are not addressing the light industrial tract at all, because it's not in the development plan. It is not on the application at all. And the other problem is Mr. Ruffin said in the meeting on Thursday night, I went back and looked at the tape, if they plan to do anything other than they have submitted in this development application and plan, it is a reason to deny. Because if they change it, they have to resubmit it, and it's required by law to deny this one if it doesn't meet the application requirements or the plan requirements, and then they can resubmit it, which gets me to the conservation easement. It is currently under a conservation use easement, and they certainly can breach that easement and remove it, but on the plan before you, this conservation easement is in place. And our attorney, Frank Jenkins, said the easement must be removed. All the back taxes, which are double back taxes for the entire 500 acres, have to be paid in full. Then they can come back and resubmit it without that conservation use easement on there. But on the plan as it's submitted, it has that easement on there. It must be removed before you can approve it. And coming back to parking, in section 4.05.01, all of the parking spaces must be shown for each use. Mr. Ruffin said they have a few spaces there for office, but they do not show any parking for the rock crushing plant operation, and each use in section 4.05.01 must be shown. In conclusion, the applicant has failed to meet the requirements of the city's development and zoning ordinance for the use requested, and the request we respectfully ask for you to deny or table it for further consideration so that you can process all of this information. We respectfully request that you do one of the two so that you can have all the facts before you make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Is there anyone else that would come forward and speak concerning this item? And I would also want to have Mr. Ruffin to come up and address us concerning that before you speak, if that's okay, Mr. Baggett.
My name is Jack Baggett. I live at 8570 Andy Mountain Court, Billerica, Georgia, Douglas County.
Could I have Mr. Ruffin address the issue that Ms. Johnson has brought up prior to you speaking, sir? Is that okay? Please, just so we stay in order.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No problem. I just want to try to keep us in order so the information is current.
For the record, Aaron Ruffin, Interim Community Development Director.
Mr. Ruffin, there's been a request that you respond, if you could, to the items that Ms. Johnson has brought forward. Some of this, as we all know, is new information. We would just like your input on it at this time so that we can be processing that as we come forward toward sort of decision.
In regards to the letter that she said Mr. Jenkins provided earlier, I haven't had a chance to actually review it because when they sent it to the wrong email address. So I received it around 3:12 this afternoon. So I haven't had a chance to really exhaustively review it. But what I will respond to in terms of what she has provided is where it relates to the access that she brought back up in terms of them having to it crossing light industrial zone property over into heavy industrial zone property. Our code does not provide any regulations that speak against that, the property owner being able to provide access from West Strickland Street. And so also in regards to, hold I'm sorry, I'm just trying to bring up his letter and respond to it as well. Also, what she provided in terms of when she went back and listened to the tape, that is correct. That if they make any changes to this development plan, they will have to come back before you for an amendment, or if you deny it, they will have to come back for an approval, just depending on which way the mayor and council decides to go. And as it relates to the parking, the applicant actually did show parking. For the site, they provided 8 parking spaces. Our code requires that for this particular use, manufacturing, that there are 2.5 parking spaces for every 1,000 square feet of gross floor area. They do provide and that's for the office building. They do provide an office building on their site plan in the size of 400 square feet, which, with that being said, they do have adequate parking for the site. I think that's it. Did I miss anything? Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, yes, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to ask, and Mr. Ruffin already stated that he hasn't had an opportunity to be exhaustive in the information that was provided by Ms. Johnson, but did you have any comments on the conservation portion that was provided to us about the stream buffers and Gothard's Creek and all of that?
Well, with that, I did check with FEMA, the FEMA firm maps. There are no streams that are showing up on their map. So, and their site plan would show if there were any streams on the property that they would have to put buffers in place. I also checked the DCA website for urban, for groundwater recharge areas. This site falls outside of that boundary, so there's no issues there. As well as it relates to the conservation easement issue, I will have to yield to the Ms. Susan Littlefield as it relates to that in terms of what would be the process if they would have to go through and remove that and come back before us, because that would fall out of my scope. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, you're welcome. Ms. Littlefield, would you respond to that, please?
My advice to you would be somewhat like Mr. Dillard's. Those can be terminated with a penalty if you're concerned about it. I'm sure they'll do it at some point later when they actually terminate their conservation use later, and there'll be many more times for them to supply that to you. But it's not your position really to enforce that. Just as you don't enforce HOA covenants, you don't enforce tax covenants either.
That would be something, I would assume, Ms. Littlefield, that would be a title issue that would have to be taken care of at time of sale or at time of use between.
I would expect that to happen.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Tax issue, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Miller.
As we kind of parse through these, and I want to thank legal and Mr. Ruffin for going through this, as well as the opponents, and as well as the applicant for flushing these issues to the forefront. I'm trying to keep track of which issues are substantive, and the first step is what can be corrected. For example, what I'm hearing is the conservation easement is not really our issue, and it can be corrected or applied appropriately at the proper time, which isn't for us to determine. But also the parking issue was in the application.
Right, that's correct.
And then so the conservation, and then so my understanding with access, there seems to be there's no real cure to that access, or no real answer whether we can address it or not at this time. However, my understanding is the applicant does have access from North Baggett Road, which could be and probably would be more disruptive than the access that they're applying for. Is that correct?
That's correct. It could be, yes.
So what I wanted, so we get down to code 32, is there anything in code 32, in my mind, does code 32 provide a substantive prohibition for this development plan?
It's my interpretation that it does not. It's a lot of gray area in between in terms of how you want to interpret that. So I would say there is no clear-cut definitive answer that I can give you as it relates to Code 32 with the issues that have been raised.
And the other issue would be the buffer, 50-foot buffer.
Right, the 50-foot building setback line.
That is a, I don't want to say, the only word that pops into my mind is violation, but that is an issue. But can that issue be, what's the, how do you solve that issue, or can you?
They can, they could update their site plan and resubmit it.
Okay. So have we pared it down to one issue, and that being under SIC Code 32, defining the definition of mining versus stone and granite, and has that narrowed it? Yeah, we down, is that the real issue that is ongoing?
Well, I'm trying to, from my point of view, that's not the issue. Because my interpretation stands that for what has been presented to me in their development plan, that it is allowed per our code based on how I've interpreted reading all the material that has been submitted thus far outside of Mr. Jenkins' letter. The only issue that I have at this junction is the issue of the 50-foot building setback line where North Baggett clips the southwestern corner of the property.
So that the issue with the SIC Code 32 is now our issue.
I'm sorry?
Our interpretation of what?
There's no real interpretation available. There's several different interpretations available, and it's now on us to make that interpretation, minus the minus the 50-foot setback. So the 50-foot setback, I hate to use the pun, but is in stone. That's issue that right. Their application is not, in your opinion, in compliance.
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
Any other question for Mr. Ruffin while we have him at the podium? I think there was someone else that wanted to speak concerning the matter.
Mr. Baggett.
Pardon?
Mr. Baggett.
Mr. Baggett? Come forward, Mr. Baggett. I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yeah, excuse me, I couldn't hear you. Legally, I'm hearing impaired. I'm a deaf veteran.
Okay.
We own property. A little louder.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Jack Baggett, 8570 Andy Mountain Court, Villa Rica, Georgia, Douglas County. I'm sorry I interrupt, but I have a hard time here.
Okay.
We own 6 buildings out there on 78. The rock quarry will be backed up to our property. We already have a rock quarry behind us, plus a garbage dump. I understand the zoning rules and regulations forbid the use of a rock crushing plant in the area. 10 years ago, another plant was turned down. Now you open up a set of worms now if you allow somebody else to put a rock quarry in when this man applied and was turned down. I read this, it says a rock quarry plant. A plant is a manufacturer. And it got portable in front of it. That means it can be picked up and moved. And also putting a permanent building there and getting a business license, you have let the door open. Once they get their business license, I've been a real estate broker, appraiser, first school auctioneer in Georgia, and won the first license. I built and developed property. If you let them get their foot in the door and give them a permit to put a building there and a business license, and they say they're going to haul rock in, over rock, that's like a man owning a gold mine and says he's going to bring gold in. It's like the guy got caught for fishing, and the warden says, you can't fish here. He says, I'm not fishing, I'm training the worms to swim. Now, I've been around in this world, and I'm going to tell you one thing. The property owners, all these people out here own property. External obsolescence means the fact another piece of property affecting theirs. I hear you have property rights. You do have property rights as long as it's not a health hazard or endangering somebody else's life. And like me, I got an implant. I don't need to hear that noise across the street. And I also have asbestos in my lungs. I don't need to be breathing that dust. What about all these people sitting out here on this property, and then all at once somebody come in and disturb their way of life? The good people elected you in office to make the right decision. A rock quarry has been turned down 2 times. Let's make it 3. I cannot understand these people have been living here, own businesses, own their own home, and it will affect them. It will downgrade the value of their property. You think about these people sitting out here, they deserve a peace of mind. And how can you have it with 2 rock crushers out there? They can call it anything they want, but once you give them a business license and put a building there, the door is open. And I don't think it's right for somebody to come in and disturb our way of living. I won't take much of your time up. I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Baggett. Anyone else? What is our protocol, Ms. Littlefield, as to repeat persons?
I don't believe you have a written protocol on that.
Okay, and there is time for rebuttal that has been saved. So, Ms. Johnson, if you feel that it's something that is in addition to, that you've not already repeated, we'll give you time. You do have someone else here that would like to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate that. And since you did let other people last week come up again, I appreciate you letting us come up, because I wanted to reiterate something that Mr. Ruffin brought up. The streams were in the applicant's first submission. The 2-line perennial streams were in his first submission with the DRI report, so they are on the property. It was in his own submissions. I got it verbatim from his own submission. And also, it is your charge, if there's a valid easement, conservation use easement on that property, according to your ordinance in the development code and the zoning code, 1.02.03, intent relative to property rights. The development code is not intended to repeal, abrogate, or impair any valid easement. The easement prohibits development. So as a council, you are not allowed to vote on something that would allow development on a piece of property that has a conservation use easement on there that does not allow development. It has to be removed. He can remove it, but it has to be removed before you take action on it. So I wanted to reiterate that and clarify what Mr. Ruffin said, because I got all of this from the laws and from the applicant's own submissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else? How much time do we have left, Ms. Acker?
Against has about 5 minutes, and the for has 25 minutes.
Thank you. Yes, sir. How are you, sir?
Robert Payne, North Baggett Road, 6716. Just to address Mr. Blankenship, southwest corner at North Baggett Road. He has land adjoining, but it's not on North Baggett Road. It's on railroad property, right at the crossing. Not enough for a road. The first driveway on North Baggett Road, the application to build a house there, you have to get a permit through the railroad except before we could put a driveway in. And I just want to bring this to the attention to the mayor and the council.
So what you're saying then, Mr. Payne, is that there's not enough frontage on the left front corner of the property from a layman's standpoint to have an entrance into the property. Is that what you're saying?
That's true.
That's your claim. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Council? Question? Comment? We'll start at the far end with Mr. T. Miller. Mr. Miller, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's kind of interesting that this situation has made zoning code experts out of quite a lot of people. There's a lot of zoning code sections have been cited over the last few days, and I wanted to cite one myself, which is toward the beginning, which is Article 1, Section 1.03.02, Paragraph A, which is the intent interpretation of the zoning code itself, which says specifically that the zoning code is considered as a minimum requirement. And then in Section B says that it is to be liberally construed in the favor of the city. This is, I keep hearing those words, arbitrary and capricious, and that keeps getting thrown back at us as to what kind of decision that we're going to make. And again, I don't know how the council will vote on this. But I think that the decision that we are going to make here today is anything but arbitrary and capricious. In fact, it is probably a very fundamental decision regarding the future of this community. Any type of decision like that is hardly arbitrary and capricious, regardless of which way you vote. There is a decision to be made about what type of economic future, what type of developmental future that this city is going to proceed from this point on. There are not too many times we get to make a decision with this kind of weight. And frankly, I respect everybody's, the guts that it takes to come up here and say something, to stand up and fight for what you believe in, whether you pro or con. And I think that the city, the council, this body has a very important decision to make, because I think this will have a tremendous impact moving down the road, regardless of how we vote. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Who else? Mr. Davis?
Mr. Chairman, this is a lot to swallow all in a couple of hours, and I believe in the legal process, and let them hash it out. Thank you.
Dr. Danley?
Thank you, Chairman Adams. To the residents that are present and to the attorney of the applicant, I just want to say that I concur with Councilman Miller T. In a lot of respects. I live on the north side of town, and I understand the process of feeling disenfranchised or with everything that's going on with the reconstruction of Highway 92. The comments and the concerns of the residents and the planning that we have going on. We have a lot of planning this year with SPLOS, from Parks and Recreation to streets to the quality of life for people. I thank you for your comments, and it is my dear and nurturing experience, as always, is to make sure that the quality of life of people and what you stand for is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Mr. Chairman, I'll withhold comment until after the applicant has had opportunity to rebut.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say to the applicant and to the citizens, we appreciate your time and your patience and your faith in us, that we are taking everything that you're saying to heart. This is not just a rubber stamp. We do have a responsibility, and we appreciate people that want to come in and invest in the community, and we appreciate the people that live here that invest your time and energies and your tax dollars. So thank you again for entrusting the decision to make this very important and meaningful decision in our community. We appreciate your faith in us, and we don't take it lightly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Miller, any other comment?
Mr. Chairman, I'll follow suit with Mayor Pro Tem and allow the applicant to rebut.
Thank you, and I probably should have done that, and I apologize. Mr. Dillard, it's all yours. We have, how many minutes, Ms. Acker?
Just to give you a little
Too much, is that
peace,
right?
just to give you some peace in your mind, I'm not going to take 25 minutes. We certainly appreciate the diligence with which council has endured the presentation and the opposition. I think it's a tribute to you for the purpose for which you've been elected. I do not contend that you're arbitrary and capricious. What I do say is that if you make a decision against our right to use our property, that decision is arbitrary and capricious because it doesn't strike a balance that you're supposed to strike in the exercise of your elected constitutional obligations. And I say that because it's important for community to be heard. It's important for the rules and regulations that you adopt to be fairly and impartially exercised. And that's all we're asking. You know, I don't know how many of these contested development plans you've had, but I've had a good many of them over the years, and it's hard for you as elected officials to make a decision in favor of one property owner and a mouthpiece and another partner versus 40 or 50 people that are your electors. However, what the law asks you to do is to strike a balance between our right to use the property and your obligation to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And we're not here to destroy any of that. What we're here to do is to ask for permission to develop a development plan, which is just the first step of the process. Because if you approve the concept of, yeah, you got a right to put a crusher on this property, and that's all it's about. It's not about a quarry. It's not about trying to decide what's stone and what's not stone. It's a question of whether this crusher can be put on this property. And balance that against the obligation that you've got to protect the environment, to protect the streams if there are any, to protect air quality, to protect vibrations, whatever that might be. We feel that there are mechanisms within which you can do that as a part of the land disturbance permit and as a part of the building permit process. All you're saying when you approve this is you've got the right to put this crusher here. Your concept plan defines the envelope, and it defines the envelope within those rules and regulations that we've adopted. And in so doing, when you do that, you don't have the discretion because you exhausted your discretion when you adopted the plan. So your duty tonight is to determine whether or not we satisfy those rules and regulations that you've adopted. Now, I've not seen Mr. Jenkins' plan or his letter, okay? I've known Frank Jenkins for 35, 40 years. We litigated a lot against each other over the years. Most recently in Talbot County 2 years ago, we fought over a quarry down there. So it's not the first time that Mr. Jenkins might have a different opinion than I do. But I will take my opinion, and I know Frank would stand behind his, and he's a very good lawyer. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But we have, and I hadn't seen what he said, but I can imagine what he said. And I'm just going to tell you, we disagree. If there's nothing else you hear from me tonight,
that's very obvious.
I'm going to tell you we disagree, and I hadn't even read his letter, okay? But having said that, your duty is to say, okay, we adopted these rules and regulations. Now, does this development plan comply with it or not? Do we have to, at this point in the process, talk about streams? Do we have to, in this part of the process, talk about whether we can access heavy industrial through light industrial? I'm going to tell you, I can go all over the state, and I can show you access to a higher density classification through a lower density classification all over Georgia. It's not in your ordinance. It's an irrelevant issue.
Pardon us one moment, Mr. Dillard. Can we turn that off and just keep a timer, please? It will. It will. Go ahead, Mr. Dillard, I'm sorry.
I've had objections said to me before, but that's a little unusual.
Some folks just don't listen as well as you do.
Most of them say, I stand up and object, not blow your brains out. But anyway. So, where was it? Well, what I was trying to say is that this whole issue of access is a distinction without a difference. You know, the idea that we could have a use on this property, manufacturing use on this property, that would generate more employees, more trips per day, have more of a greater effect on the environment, right next to the light industrial, and you tell me that if I had a manufacturing plant sitting over here, I can't come through light industrial to get to it. I don't think that's the law. Your ordinance certainly doesn't deal with it. And I think unless your ordinance does deal with it, you can't invent that kind of obligation. The setbacks that we're talking about are from principal buildings. We got a rock crusher, 400 square foot building. In the middle of this over 100 acres, we got 10 acres. And if you look at that site plan, Haygood comes in on one end of it. We've got a railroad right-of-way all the way across the front of it. Our street address is probably Highway 78 or it's West Strickland, whichever way we extend that particular road. But we satisfy the 50-foot requirement around the residential. As a matter of fact, we show 100 feet around all of this property as it abuts residential. We're showing 15 feet off of the non-residential, and that's what your code requires. But we're showing it all the way around the 10-acre tract. Those distance requirements are from the principal building. Well, if you look at the distance that the principal building has from Haygood, it's several hundred, I don't know how far it is, but it's a long way. If you look at how far this principal building is from those properties that are owned by Mr. Baggett that front on 78, it's over 200 feet because the railroad right-of-way is at 200 feet. So this whole distance is from the principal building, which is a 400 square foot building. And we're entitled, we think we've got to have 6 spaces, we're providing 8. If your ordinance says, and I would challenge this, if your ordinance says that the ordinance and the code sections have got to be construed literally and in favor of the city, that violates Georgia law. Because under Fayette versus Seagraves, under Cherokee versus Martin, and under the constitutional interpretations by the Georgia Supreme Court, that's not the way it is. And if that's the way it is, you might want to talk to your lawyers about changing it. Because what the law says is you've got to work with a property owner to achieve the highest and best use, if not a reasonable economic use of his property. We're sitting on a valuable asset. We're sitting on a tremendous asset. We're sitting on a piece of property that we have a legal right to use under your code, and you can't construe the ordinance, or you shouldn't construe the ordinance, literally in favor of the city, because what the law requires is that you strike a balance. You strike a balance between our rights to use and develop our property and the properties and the public's concern about the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare. We're not about destroying the environment. We're not about trying to adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare. We just want to use our property, and we think that we've got a clear legal right to use it. We've applied for it. It's a concept plan. It's a development plan. If there are things that we need to do that staff thinks are appropriate, then we certainly are willing to sit down with them as a part of the land disturbance process and the building permit process. But when your own staff says we're okay, except for Jenkins' letter, which I hadn't seen either, but we're certainly willing to sit down with you and work things out. We're certainly willing to work with the neighborhood to try to work something out if they want to accept the fact that we've got the right to use the property. The definition of stone is not limited to granite. And Section 2395 talks about the crushing of stone without a mine. And there's a difference. They're trying to tie us into a quarry. They're trying to tie us into mining. This is not mining. This is crushing stone. And it comes to us after it's been mined somewhere else. So we don't have permission to mine. We're not asking for permission to mine. What we are asking to do, though, is to ask for a use that we think is consistent with the mine across the street and the other heavy industrial uses, not to forget a railroad right-of-way that comes right next to our property. So we think our request is reasonable. We think that you have an obligation to work with us to achieve a reasonable use of our property, if not the highest and best use of our property. We've not seen or heard one objection from the opposition that has any legal merit as it relates to your development code. They've talked about streams, they've tried to talk about, it doesn't talk about granite and all this stuff. They've not had not one objection to the development plan presented that is consistent with a reasonable interpretation of your code, and we would ask that you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dillard. All right, I will reopen question, comment of council. Is there anyone else? How are we on time? Are we complete?
13 minutes for them and about 4 minutes for the opposition.
I don't see any other reason to bring any other comment in. I think everyone has been given. I take back what I said.
Dennis Chandler, 1929 South Flat Rock Road, Douglasville. I wasn't going to get up and talk. I was 25 years ago, I was a state representative. And people introduced a bill, so it's just a little simple bill. Carlton Caldwell was a great representative over there. And he would get down in the well of the house, and he'd be like, well, I tell you what, it's just a little old bill, just a simple bill. That's the way he talked, but when you're talking to him, you'd understand him, but you didn't. He was a lot of stuff. They said, what did they vote on? These were people before me. What did we just vote on? Spent about $40 million on the World Congress Center. They didn't know what they were voting on. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not getting paid to sell you're the grandest thing walking. And that rock bar is just the grandest thing. To listen to that, it's just a little simple thing. But it ain't to me. You got a rock quarry right across 78. I think law is a lot of common sense. Ain't no common sense in this to a rock quarry here and a rock quarry there. It's going to be a rock quarry. We all know that. Crushing, she gave you things where it was, the law was ready. He didn't come back and, well, there was no rebuttal to exact thing. He just said you can't do it. I ask you to use common sense and vote against this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. I'm now going to call a halt to comments. except for council that wanted to address items or questions that did not have an opportunity to do so prior. So, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Miller.
Once again, thanks for everyone for sharing their information, their impressions of the law. We've tried to define every issue related to this issue. What I don't want to do is create a perception that we're going to stand up and anybody that comes forward, we're going to deny their application, even though there's a very simple solution to the situation that could be worked out, whether it be the easement, the conservation easement, or traveling across an IL to get to a heavy industrial. Those will shake out. And those are legal issues that will have a final understanding, and they're kind of unsubstantive or insubstantive to the presentation. What I consider a substantive issue is under this SIC Code 32, and I don't know that we're ever going to get a reasonable understanding on that. One side says it's mining, the other side doesn't. But under what's been proposed to us is a development plan, not a use plan. And that's what concerns me. Under the law, under our ordinance, it simply says that we have certain obligations to look to for a development plan. And that doesn't include the multiple issues with regard to the use of this property. But at the same time, I'm very concerned for the constituents here about their issues and what were raised. So what we come down to today is being asked of this city council to make a determination on what rock is. I guess when I ran for office, I didn't realize that I was going to be in geology as a profession. But I don't know. I've heard from one side of experts, and we've heard from other side of experts and lawyers, and I simply don't know. Now, the issue before us, though, is the site development plan, not a use. So, as I sit here, I'm unsure. But what I don't want to have come out of this is Douglasville City Council being perceived as we're going to create so many hurdles for you to overcome that you're going to have to resubmit your plans when you shouldn't. Is this something we want here? I know there's a lot of people here that they don't want it. Do we have the ability as a city council to make the decision? And I'm confused a little bit. This is turned into a land use issue, and we've had this happen before, and we've looked at it. Our lawyers have been very good and looked at it and came back and said the city made a mistake, and we fixed it. I asked them to do it again, wishing for a resolute solution to this, and there is no resolute solution. I believe it's a development plan that's been applied for, and therefore there is no use involved with it. I do see a problem with the land use plan as submitted with the area between the road and the plan. So does it technically meet the plan based upon that? No. Is that a fixable issue that they could turn around and come back here next month and do? Probably yes. So what is the best solution to the problem at hand? And that's what this city, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I don't know. But that's what our city council is going to be up to the task of doing, I hope.
The chairman's going to do it.
I'm sorry?
The chairman's going to make the best decision.
Well, he'll make a decision. We'll have to determine if it's the
Yes,
best
sir.
decision. And then what happens if we're wrong? Then it goes to a court. So then everybody spends a bunch of money trying to figure out what the court's going to do to decide what a dang rock is. So this is probably the toughest thing that I've had to do as a city council member, and now working on my second term. So we have not taken this lightly. Our staff has not taken this lightly. We wanted to get every ounce of information, and I'm confident that our staff has done that. And guess I'll figure out how to vote here in a minute. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Let me reiterate several things that Mr. Miller, I won't reiterate for fear I don't want to repeat, and I cannot put it into words the way that he can. He's done a very eloquent, good job in communicating, I'm sure, the concerns of some of the other council. I know there are mine. My biggest concern is the confusion that has been created tonight by the different SIC codes. And whether or not this is mining, whether or not this is crushing stone, I don't know. I'm not the expert. It would be very easy for me to make a decision as to a motion if I had a clear understanding of every piece of information that had been provided to me and to this council and to the mayor. It may be easier, I don't know. But based upon that, and I do agree totally with Mr. Miller as to making changes and coming back, which could very easily be done, but there are some questions that come to my mind that I don't think I can get an answer on tonight, or at least I've not been able to in the last 45 minutes. Therefore, if there are no other questions or comments of council, I'm going to make a motion on item 221843 to table the issue for a period of 2 weeks until our next round of meetings, which I think will be May 18th and May 21st, in order for this council to hopefully be better educated and a little better informed, if not much more informed, as to what SIC code we need to be looking at, what our city charter, what our ordinance has adopted, what we can and cannot include in our decision-making process. My motion is to table.
Second.
Thank you. Are those the correct meeting dates, or the 17th or 18th? 17th. 17th of May and the
My mistake.
That's okay. And the 21st? Okay. So there is a motion to table item 22-18-43 to the meetings of May 17th and 21st. It's been properly moved and second to table this item. All those in favor of?
Madam Mayor, yes.
Any further
Comment,
discussion?
please.
I apologize.
Yes. Let me say, and I will be remiss if I did not, let me again let each of you know how much we appreciate your input, your being here, your compassion, your passion about the subject. We know that it touches a lot of people. We appreciate Mr. Bart Boyd and Mr. Dillard and Mr. DePriest and all those that have come in with their application, and it is a very difficult decision. I do appreciate all of your time and effort. Please understand we are not taking this lightly, and we do not want it to be viewed that we feel as though our hands are tied and we don't have any choice. We want to make sure the choice that we make would be the right choice, and we do appreciate all of you coming. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I have.
Welcome. Any further discussion? I apologize. I didn't mean to
Madam
admit.
Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
I don't want anybody to have the impression that we're just kicking the can down the road. We have received a lot of new information just today. I mean,
yes, sir.
Plus that we've got emails and attachments in our iPad. We need to read we need to know what's in it before we vote on it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So tabling it is the best way that we can actually spend the time to see all this information and make the best decision at our next meeting.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Appreciate that support.
Yes, sir. Digest everything. Any other comments? Any further discussion with council members? Thank you. It's been properly moved in second to table item 21-18-43 to the legislative I apologize, the work session of May 17th and the voting meeting of May 21st.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Could you read the item number again, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 22-18-43.
Thank you.
Okay. All of those in favor of tabling this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Item 22-18-43 is tabled to the meetings of May 17th and May 21st. Is that all you have, Mr. Chairman?
All we have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to Parks and Recreation Committee. The Vice Chair is Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No items at this time, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll just give a few seconds as we move on with our agenda. Okay, now that the chambers are clearing out, we can hear. We'll move on to item number 11, which is Finance Committee. That's chaired also by Councilman Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Finance has one item tonight. That's item 24-18-13. Authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the Douglasville Convention and Visitors Bureau Incorporated for promotion of tourism, conferences, and trade shows in consideration for the city's payment of a portion of the 8% hotel motel excise tax to be collected by the city during the city's fiscal year 2018-2019. I know we've had discussion, a couple of different committee meetings, and this is basically, I would say, a cleanup of a requirement that is upon the city as to how those funds are used. So I'm going to make a motion to approve item 24-18-13.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 24-18-13. Is there any further discussion on this item? Thank you. Not seeing any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Item 24-18-13 is approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all we have under Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move on to Information and Technology Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no items under Information and Technology at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to item 13, Maintenance and Sanitation Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mike Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 3 items tonight. First, we have item 26-18-8, authorize city staff to advertise a request for qualifications for design and construction of a new city maintenance and sanitation facility using the construction manager at risk delivery method. I would like to put this in the form of a motion for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 26-18-8. Is there any further discussion on this item? Thank you. Not seeing any. All those in favor of approving item 26-18-8, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Item 26-18-8 is approved.
Our next item is item 26-18-9, authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with ISES Corporation for Facility Condition Assessment Services. I'd like to put this in the form of a motion for approval.
Second.
Thank you. It's properly moved and second to approve item 26-18-9. Any further discussion on this item? Thank you. Not seeing any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Item 26-18-9 is approved.
Finally, Madam Mayor, we have 26-18-10. That is to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement for water and/or sanitary sewer service with the Douglasville, Douglas County Water and Sewer Authority for service at the city's old conference center building at 6701 Church Street. I'd like to place this in the form of a motion for approval.
Second.
Thank you so much. It's been properly moved in second. Second by Mr. Miller M. Made to move, and Miller T. Second. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Item 26-18-10 is approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A little, concerned. My items never seem as interesting as Chairman Adams' items.
I'm sure he would love to. There you go. I was going to say, he's turn it over. But thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to item 14, Transportation Committee. That's chaired by Councilwoman LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're
Just
welcome.
one item, 27-18-11, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 1 to the city's agreement of April 18th, 2018 with Jackson Paving Company Incorporated to add 22,000 gallons of unanimous tack coat to the scope of work for the city's 2018 SPLOST paving project. I had to look up that very interesting word, and actually it's just another form of asphalt.
Yes.
And for those in the audience that do not see the cost of it, the cost is $121,000. I'd ask the city manager, where is this taking us as it relates to the budget increase?
This is well within the budget,
okay,
yes,
great.
ma'am.
All right, thank you. I make a motion to approve item 27-18-11.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved in second to approve item 27-18-11. Is there any further discussion on this item? I know Mr. Roberts talked to us about this at our work session and told us that it was omitted from the original scope of work for Jackson Paving Company to do our streets for SPLOST and resurfacing those streets. Any other discussion as relates to this item?
No other discussion, Madam Mayor. Just glad they know that they have to use asphalt to do the streets.
I know, I know. Right. All of those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Item 27-18-11 is approved. Is that all you have, Dr. Danley?
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, no other items. Thank you, under transportation.
You're welcome. We'll move on to item 15, Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Richard Siegel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have one item, 28-18-9, City Council's vote on ratification of Mayor Rochelle Robinson's nomination for the appointed position of Assistant City Manager. Would you like to make your nomination?
Yes, my nomination is Ms. Chelsea Jackson to be the Assistant City Manager.
Ms. Jackson, can you come to the podium, please? I want to make sure that as we vote to ratify, that everybody up here knows who you are. All right, and then I make a motion that, for item 28-18-9 to approve, to ratify the nomination of Ms. Chelsea Jackson as Assistant City Manager.
Second.
Wow.
There was a lot of seconds.
There was a lot
there.
of seconds.
Second.
Third and fourth and fifth.
Thank you. It's been properly moved in second to ratify Ms. Chelsea Jackson to be the Assistant City Manager. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor, I just want to say great job nominating a great person for this position.
Thank you so much. And thank you, City Council. I really appreciate your vote of confidence in ratifying persons that I bring forward. I'm batting 100, 1,000, or whatever it is right now. Hopefully we'll keep putting good people forward, and I appreciate your support and the great staff that we have coming forward. Ms. Chelsea, we look forward to your continued work and the great things that you've been doing for the city. We are so excited that you are our new Assistant City Manager. I always call you Chelsea Bean, so it's just really good to have you. Excited. So all those in favor of approving item 28-18-9.
I'm sorry, I have a comment. I'd just like to say to Chelsea, just for the short period of time that you've been here, you have demonstrated knowledge and intelligence and the expertise of humbleness. I think that your coach over here, Ms. Hampton, has done a wonderful job as well, and I know that you'll do great things. A lot of times you do a lot of things behind the scene, but I just want to say that your strength in the area of leadership is phenomenal. Congratulations on your appointment.
Yes, ma'am. I don't want to cut anyone off. If anyone else has anything to say, I know we interviewed Ms. Chelsea, the City Council did, and so we were able to talk to her personally and get all of our, any comments that we wanted out at that time. Any other comments? Okay, if no further discussion, all of those in favor of approving item 28-18-9, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. So Ms. Chelsea Jackson is the new Assistant City Manager, so item 28-18-9 is approved.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Chelsea. You want to say anything? You good?
An acceptance speech?
5 minutes, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yes.
Abbreviated.
Chelsea Jackson, Assistant City Manager, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia. I just want to say thank you, Mayor and City Council. It's just a great honor and privilege to, for you all to approve this position for me and for me to accept and continue to do great work within Douglasville as well as, in the public sector. And I promise that I'll do it to the best of my ability. Anything you need, please call. Do not hesitate, 24/7. I want to thank you to our city manager, Ms. Marsha Hampton. She is a great mentor, as well as all the city employees. I wouldn't be able to do it without them. They're the ones who make, all of us look good. So I appreciate you all, and I want to say thank you to my friends who came. I had no idea. Even my former coworker, he came out and drove here in the traffic. So I really do appreciate it, and thank you again.
Wow, that shows a lot about you and who you are and your character, that former colleagues would come and support you and endure a marathon council meeting to say congratulations. So we welcome you, Chelsea. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
No other business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move on to item 16, Ordinance and Intergovernmental Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mike Miller.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councilor. We'll move on to Education and Training Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No items tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Move on to the next committee, which you are the chair of, Communications Committee.
I believe, Jason, coming up on the 11th, we have our first concert on the plaza. I believe that's May 11th, and hope to see everybody out.
Who's an entertainer?
Let's see. Jason will have to come out. Is Jason still here?
He has the list.
He's working. Come on down, Miss Chelsea. I was assistant,
city manager.
Good afternoon.
Brianna here?
Yes, we have. So on May 11th, Steel Trucking will be here. They have a big following, so they'll be out on O'Neill Plaza, and we're all excited to have them here.
Steel Trucking?
Steel Trucking.
They're not going to be at Hunter Park?
No, they'll be at O'Neill Plaza.
O'Neill Plaza. Okay.
This is our first of the fall. Is it spring or summer?
This is our spring.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
And thank you,
Steel
everyone.
Trucking. What time?
7 to 9 p.m.
Okay. 7 to 9 on O'Neill Plaza.
And Chelsea, I believe we're having food trucks, I would believe. Are we having trucks?
We won't, because we would like to encourage patrons to participate with the restaurant. So we're gonna, I know you will be having food trucks, Councilman Davis, at Wednesday Wine Down over at the park.
Okay, yeah,
for downtown.
We're in the country over there. Thank you all.
We'll mess around with you. Thank you so much, Councilman Davis and Ms. Jackson. Is there any other business to come before council tonight? Holding our breath. National Tourism Week is this week, and so we do have an event tomorrow from 10 to 11 here at the Conference Center. City Manager, you want to speak?
I'm going to ask your Assistant City Manager to come up and report on that as well.
Ms. Chelsea, you might as well just stay up here. I know. Now you have to sit in the front row now.
Right. So this week is National Travel and Tourism Week. So tomorrow we'll have the National Travel Rally. It'll be at the Douglasville Conference Center at 10 a.m. So we're asking everyone to come out. First few individuals that come, they'll receive a commemorative T-shirt for National Travel and Tourism Week.
Okay.
And then also on Friday at the Douglas County Museum, there will be an event starting at 3 p.m.
Very good, for National Travel Tourism Week. All right, thank you so much, Ms. Jackson. Now we'll move on to 20, City Attorney, Colonel Dotson, anything?
No business.
Thank you, Mr. Dotson. Chief Assistant City Attorney, Ms. Susan Littlefield?
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. That isn't the chief, that's Captain Denning.
But the chief would like to invite everybody out Thursday night to the community enrichment meeting. It's at the Hollis Street House at 6:30. We're going to go out and try to clean up a little bit.
Great.
And then have some hamburgers and hot dogs afterwards. So everybody come out. It'll be a great time.
What time?
6:30.
6:30.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thursday? This Thursday. Yes, sir. All right. We'll move on to City Manager, Ms. Marsha Hampton.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Michelle Wright has asked that I announce to you all that our Preservation and Tourism Luncheon will be held at Sweetwater State Park at 11:30 on Wednesday the 9th. Some of you have already confirmed with Katrina or Ms. Wright. For those who have not, if you would please make mention to her whether or not you do intend to attend that luncheon.
Where at the park is it? At the visitor center? Or?
It's at the visitor center, correct, Michelle? Yes. All right. And then my only other comments, Mayor, I would like to thank you for accepting Ms. Chelsea as your nominee. I was told years ago when I was working here that as I moved up, I should find someone to at least find another me, but I chose to actually find someone who potentially can be better than me.
Aww.
And that is really my intent, because when you come to a place, you want to make certain you put in practices and procedures where people can grow. You put people in places. So Ms. Jackson is a wonderful employee. She's very talented. She's very flexible, very humbled. And I can tell you she will be able to do far more here at the city than I have been able to do in my time, because she's very smart. She got it far earlier than I did. So that tells you that her career in local government, she will be very successful.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Madam City Manager. You're humble as well. I'm a great leader. I did want to mention, on the same vein of Sweetwater Park and the awards there, that there's a senior picnic this week, and it's at the Woody Flight Center. Is that correct, Mayor Pro Tem? And so the Mayor Pro Tem will be there for me. I am leaving early Wednesday morning to go to San Diego with the Atlanta Regional Commission. I've been awarded to be the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors for the Atlanta Regional Commission. So we're doing our link trip to San Diego to look at transportation and economic development, and do a comparison and what they're doing in San Diego in the region to what we're doing in the Atlanta region. So I'll be out of town Wednesday through Saturday, and I appreciate you so much, Mayor Pro Tem, going. Seniors are one of my favorite groups of people, so please give them my regard.
My sister lives in San Diego. Are you going to visit her?
Give me her address. I can go over there and eat or something. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Comments from citizens and delegates. If you have endured this meeting, which is unusual for us, but we certainly will get our second wind. If you'd like to come and address us, the podium is open. You can please come forward and give your name and address for the record, and we'd be happy to hear from you. All right, now, somebody praying out there.
Praying for
Thank you. I know it. So we'll move on there. Are there any staff reports? No staff reports. Not seeing any other business, and this meeting is adjourned.